This tale transports us to Mexico's early years as a recently independent nation. The year was 1830. Mexico was plunged into domestic turmoil immediately following its independence. A civil war was raging in the nation. As various groups in Mexico fought for dominance and power, they began fighting among themselves. Mexico's situation was gradually getting worse. Law and order didn't exist. In fact, the idea of law didn't seem to exist. The footage and material used in this video are non-copyrighted. I can't use the real, original footage because it's copyrighted, and that could lead to copyright issues. That's why I use non-copyrighted material in my videos to avoid any problems. People were suffering greatly as a result of the lawlessness. The frequency of robberies and looting had increased. The people was living in poverty and dread as homes were being invaded and belongings stolen. For both tourists and natives, the situation was severe. Indeed, those who were not native to Mexico but had relocated there for a variety of reasons, such as commerce and business, were also among those impacted. These foreigners also experienced violence and looting. They started looking to their own nations for assistance as they were unable to rely on the Mexican government to provide them with safety or justice. They requested assistance from their respective governments in regaining their stolen property. France was one such nation that at the time enjoyed cordial ties with Mexico. The diplomatic ties between France and Mexico were stable, and trade was taking place. However, things took an odd turn when a bizarre incident led to a full-scale conflict between the two countries. A pastry was the beginning of it all. A pastry, indeed. History still refers to the strange struggle as the Pastry War. Let's examine how a minor event turned into a conflict. Many people, including some French nationals, were being robbed in Mexico, as I previously stated. Among them was Monsieur Remontal, a pastry chef from France. He was the owner of a Mexico City dessert shop. It was 1832. His store was visited one day by some Mexican army commanders. They refused to pay even though they ate his pastries. Considering the level of anarchy in the nation at the time, this wasn't shocking. The incident, however, infuriated Monsieur Remontal. He was so frustrated and had no one to turn to in Mexico that he wrote a letter to King Louis Philippe of France. He wrote that he had been defrauded by Mexican officials and that a number of other French nationals had also suffered the same fate. He asked the French government to intervene and assist them in recouping their losses. It took a few years for the French king to receive this letter. The French government took the issue seriously after it did. The French citizens who had sustained damages were formally demanded to be compensated by the Mexican government. In particular, they wanted payment for Monsieur Remontal's stolen pastries from government officials. The Mexican government, however, declined to comply with this request. The French king thereupon commanded a naval blockade of Mexico. Every waterway leading to Mexico from ports under French control was closed. In 1838, France also took control of Veracruz, a vital port city in Mexico. Being a significant hub for trade and transport, this city was strategically and economically significant to Mexico. As a result of the embargo and French rule over Veracruz, tensions increased dramatically. In 1838, Mexico responded by declaring war on France. Trade between the two countries was completely hampered by the fighting. Desperate to keep up some semblance of trade, Mexico attempted to sneak commodities through the port of Corpus Christi, in the United States. Soon after, however, the United States joined France in taking action against Mexican smugglers. The Mexican government was even more enraged by this. Mexico responded by sending troops to Veracruz to combat the French. Due to a letter from a pastry chef regarding some stolen pastries, this military conflict in 1838 became known as the Pastry War. After a while, in 1839, the French left Veracruz, and Mexico and France negotiated a peace agreement. This pact stipulated that the Mexican government would reimburse the French citizens for their losses, particularly the 600,000 pesos it claimed they were due. Mexico's currency as the peso, Mexico never returned the money, despite having promised in principle to pay this sum. As a result, the two nations' diplomatic ties deteriorated once more. Tensions reached such a high level by 1861 that France and Mexico ended up going to war again. Yes, Mexico's failure to repay 600,000 pesos led to a second conflict. The devastation from this second fight was far worse than that from the first. In retrospect, simply returning the money to Mexico could have been far simpler and less damaging. France and Mexico had totally cut diplomatic ties by the end of the second conflict. The full restoration of diplomatic relations between the two countries did not occur until 1880. Beginning with an apparently insignificant matter, a stolen pastry, this entire incident resulted in numerous battles, political repercussions, and lasting diplomatic repercussions. This peculiar historical battle is still known as the Pastry War. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more real-life mysteries and chilling tales, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.